The Steam Autumn Sale is here, and it's here 2 months early, so get ready because we have a lot of games to go over. There are a lot of savings to be had here. So here's the games that I personally recommend, and also the games that I think you should keep an eye out for in the Steam Autumn Sale for 2025. Hello everybody, I am Jmulls, and it's time to game! Let's begin with a pretty sweet deal. Halo the Master Chief Collection is a series of older Halo games that to me are some of the best gaming experiences you can ever have. These campaigns, these stories, are legendary, filled with incredible gameplay and music and just moments that stick with you and that stand the test of time. And with all signs pointing to the next Halo game or possibly Halo games being announced at the upcoming HCS in October, rumor has it one of those games is going to be a Halo Combat Evolved remake. And if the reporting is accurate that they're toying around with Sprint, well, I think it's always good to have the original as a backup just in case the new interpretation, as we call it, leaves a bit to be desired. The games included in the Master Chief Collection are the first game, Combat Evolved, with its remaster Combat Evolved Anniversary, Halo 2, Halo 2 Anniversary, to be specific, Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, Halo Reach, and Halo 4. I grew up with all of these games and I can't recommend them enough. Halo the Master Chief Collection is 75% off for $9.99. I'm about to unleash the beast! And while there is a brand new Dying Light game out right now, might I recommend going back to the original, where it all began. Also, it's the only Dying Light game that I've actually played. But, to be fair, it is a pretty dang good zombie game. And yeah, like, I know, especially if you've been around the block, zombie games feel as if they're a dime a dozen, but Dying Light is kinda special in a lot of ways. It's wacky, zany fun, where it's not just about ruthlessly destroying various kinds of zombies. It has plenty of that. But there's also some pretty sick parkour elements in this game that make moving around the world a very fun and satisfying experience. And you can easily dump a bunch of time into this game, and especially at this price point, it's a pretty dang good deal. Dying Light Essentials Edition is 80% off for $4.99, and Dying Light the Definitive 10th Anniversary Edition is 80% off for $9.99. The Final Fantasy game that blew away a generation of people back in the days of the PS2 has made its way to Steam. To be fair, a while ago, you know, back in 2016, but I'm not technically wrong. You gotta love a technicality. Final Fantasy X and X-2, while I haven't played X-2, Final Fantasy X has one of the best turn-based combat systems I've ever seen in a game. Combine that with a load of visuals that still hold up to this day, even if the character designs in the remaster are polarizing to say the least. I think the game still absolutely holds up well. The sphere grid power-up system is an interesting way to customize your characters as the game goes on. The story is emotional, colorful, and just gripping all around. And like, do I even need to mention the soundtrack? I mean, my god, the Zanarkand theme is one of the best pieces of music this industry has ever seen. I think Final Fantasy X in a lot of ways is required reading, especially if you're a fan of turn-based JRPGs. And if you haven't experienced it yet, or you just want another excuse to play it, I think now's as good a time as any. Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD Remaster is 60% off for $11.99. Let's continue with this Final Fantasy train, and next up we have Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which is part 1 of the remake trilogy for Final Fantasy VII. Now, I am a big fan of Final Fantasy VII. I love all the games, at least the main ones, but I'm also particularly a fan of the remake games as well, and I want to go over why very quickly here, because there's a lot of people online that really don't know what they're talking about when it comes to these games, but they act like they do. So, FF7 Remake isn't a traditional video game remake. No, it is remaking the world of Final Fantasy VII and basically telling a new story that's also very similar to the original. Some people say these games aren't complete games, that's just, oh, what's a good word to call it? Malarkey? I mean, there is a lot of things to do in both Remake and also in Rebirth. Remake takes the original Midgard section and really expands on the story that is told there, with a particular emphasis on characterization and also world building. Rebirth takes the section after you leave Midgard all the way up to that Aerith scene of the original, and again, blows that up and adds a bunch of new stuff there. While I enjoy the combat in Remake, it does leave a little bit to be desired. But I think the overall design of Remake has a bunch of great characterization, great music, some admittedly lackluster side content, but it does a great job of making Midgar an interesting in-game location that you fully explore, or at least you feel as if you're really taking your time to come to understand this in-game world. You don't fully explore Midgar or anything, but the sections you do go to are really expanded on. If you're a big Final Fantasy VII fan, I would recommend giving it a try at 40% off for $23.99. Okay, so, well, what about Rebirth? I think in a lot of ways, I would classify Rebirth as a better game. It's part 2 of the trilogy, and it's like I said, it's taking that part where you leave Midgar all the way up to that Aerith scene from the original, and once again, focusing a lot on characterization and especially world building here. But what I think Rebirth does particularly well is focusing in on side content, which is one of the things the original FF7 was really known for. And also taking that combat skeleton from Remake and really helping it find its groove. Better enemy variety, better boss design, synergy skills and combos really flesh out the combat loop and make your party dynamics feel unique to you. And I think in a lot of ways, mechanically, Rebirth is just a great continuation from what Remake sets out to do. Neither of these games are particularly perfect, and they each have their own strengths and weaknesses. Remake's weakness was the side content. It was just kind of a grouping of side quests here and there, and like a few mini games, it wasn't too much. Whereas in Rebirth, you can argue there's a bit of too much emphasis in the side content. There is so much here, and ordinarily Final Fantasy games will run you about 40 to 50 hours or so. This game can easily clock you over 100 if you want to. And while the main story will have you toying around a bit with a lot of the side content and these mini games, the main story doesn't really call for you to do particularly well at them. But there is so much more you can get out of this game if you wish to stop and smell the roses and partake in the side content, and there's so many additional little stories you can also engage in. Is Rebirth perfect? No, but nothing ever is. Nor do I think the original Final Fantasy VII is perfect either. Remake and Rebirth do their own thing with these characters in this world that we all know and love. And I think it does a rather good job at what it's setting out to do. It's fun, it's enjoyable, I got a ton of laughs out of it. It's a game I wish to come back to multiple times in the future. Don't let anyone ever tell you this is not a complete game, because oh my god, this game has more content in it than most other games. And with the way this new story is constructed, I do think it has an interesting beginning, middle, and an end. It's just, you kinda do have to pay attention. And if you just watch like the YouTube highlights for the story, you're gonna be like a fish out of water. It's one of those games where you benefit more, and you get more out of it the more you're willing to put into it. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is 40% off for $41.99, though if you wish to get the Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth Twin Pack, that's also 40% off, but for $59.99. Honestly, really good value for $60. My experience with Journey is, well, a journey. I started out very skeptical about this game way back in the day. I thought it looked just like a generic walking sim, which was all the rage at the time. I thought it looked too short, I didn't see the appeal, and then I played it, and I fell in love with this game unabashedly so. The way I have always described this game is that it is the perfect distillation of the adventure genre, all into one short, bite-sized experience. This game will only run you about like 90 minutes or so. Unless you play it very slow, but a singular playthrough is not going to take you that long. You can easily bash it out in a sitting, but that singular sitting will sit with you for a long time if you're anything like me. It is a very simple premise. There is a mountain in the distance, go to it. And as you brave the various dunes of the desert, that is the journey you undergo. As you uncover the history of your people, the people of the land, and also get a really long scarf. There's no real right way to sell this game other than just picking it up and playing it for yourself. You may not get it from just hearing or even watching people, or even watching someone play the full game, but I think it's one of those experiences that makes itself so visibly clear to you that there is something special about video games and interacting with the media that you are consuming. Journey is great, and it's 67% off for $4.94. Stellar Blade is absolutely fantastic and also weirdly well optimized, especially compared to a lot of other games that come out in the year 2025. It's a fast-paced action game where you're slicing and dicing opponents all the while dodging and parrying their attacks. Yeah, I know that combat loop may sound familiar, but I think Stellar Blade does a very good job coming into its own with interesting and varied boss design and enemy variety, all the while the story, which starts out rather bleh, it gets really interesting and compelling when you get into the latter portions of it. And it's not like it's boring or anything out the gate, it's just, it takes a little bit to come into its own, but once it does, it becomes so utterly fascinating and gripping. Beautiful level design, great visuals across the board, amazing music, fun and interesting combat that is also so endlessly addictive. Stellar Blade is easily one of those games you can just lose yourself in, and hours pass by in mere moments. Stellar Blade is 20% off for $47.99. My god, the deals for Stick of Truth and Fractured Butthole are weirdly good, considering just how much there is to do in these games and just how good these games are overall. It's easy to think, oh, these are just gonna be South Park games, what's so special about them? Well, they're South Park games and they're actually really high quality and they feel as if you're playing the actual show. South Park The Stick of Truth is very much inspired by the turn-based RPGs of old, with turn-based combat that is also weirdly good for what you imagine South Park would actually have. With some of the most insane jokes of the series, and yes, that is saying something. These games are an utter ride from start to finish, and while I don't think the combat in Fractured Butthole is as interesting as Stick of Truth, and I also just kind of prefer Stick of Truth overall, it's not like the Fractured Butthole is a bad game or anything, and you know, saying that out of context is kind of funny too. Whereas the Stick of Truth has the kids of South Park cosplaying as a bunch of fantasy races and characters, the Fractured Butthole has a superhero twist to it all, with grid-based strategy being the name of the game. But if you love that South Park style of humor and you just want to play some good turn-based RPGs, these are some really good picks for you. South Park The Stick of Truth is 80% off for $5.99 by itself, or you can also just get the Stick of Truth and Fractured Butthole bundle for 85% off for $8.08. Or, if you just want the Fractured Butthole, that's 90% off for $2.99. Glory to mankind! Nier Automata is my favorite game of all time. From top to bottom, I think there is no other game that I have personally experienced that does a good job as Nier Automata at weaving storytelling into the experience with the gameplay as well as Nier Automata. It is a truly special experience, with also one of the best soundtracks put to the medium. Insane grandeur, insane visuals, awesome characters, an awesome world, and truly one of the best stories that I have experienced. And it's also paired with an incredibly fun and satisfying hack-and-slash combat system that is both fast-paced, but also mechanically satisfying and viscerally gratifying. But I would also recommend the first Nier game, Nier Replicant version 0.1.22474487139. Yeah, I know. Nier Replicant has one of my favorite cast of characters of any game ever. And while I think it's a little bit less elegant compared to Nier Automata's way of doing multiple playthroughs, and Nier Replicant can get a little bit repetitive in areas, oh my god, this game in my opinion should be required reading. The twists, the turns, the emotional impact this game can have on you, the way these games can make you laugh and smile and cry, and all things in between is truly special. All the while being a ton of fun as well. Also, did I mention the soundtrack? Oh my god, it's so good. Nier Replicant version 0.1.22474487139 is 65% off for $20.99, and Nier Automata Game of the Year edition is 65% off for $13.99. Insane deals. Doom Eternal is one of the fastest and baddest FPS games you can possibly play. The game goes at like Mach 12, and it's so brutal, and when you land those big hits, and you get those big upgrades over the course of the campaign, it feels so viscerally satisfying just watching what you can do. And I think Doom's combat loop is one of the best at showing one of the best elements of good game design. Being able to feel yourself getting better at the game as you find new ways to dodge the various onslaughts of enemies the game throws at you, all the while weaving in the brutal carnage you're able to distribute equally to everything around you as well, for the fast-paced glory kills, to the giant arsenal of weapons and weapon mods you can have at your disposal, all while upgrading Doomguy and finding a bunch of collectibles through the various levels this game also has. It's just so dang good. There's a reason this game is still talked about to this day. While the Marauder will always tick me off, if you know, you know, I still think the game is worth it, especially at this price point. Doom Eternal Standard Edition is 90% off for $3.99. Monster Hunter World was the first Monster Hunter game that actually rolled credits on, and my god, what a treat this game turned out to be. Monster Hunter has a very simple gameplay loop. You pick a weapon, you go out into the world and find a giant monster. You then kill said monster and scavenge its body for parts that you can then craft better armor and weapons from. And with those better armor and weapons, you can then find an even tougher monster and repeat the same loop all over again. And it can be so weirdly addictive. While quite a few of the monsters in World can feel like just insert new lizard here, they're really cool lizards to be fair, and the monsters are varied, and the ways you fight these guys can be varied as well. You can choose to take a bunch of time, as you probably should, for prep and getting yourself situated and acclimated to the game and to the monster you're fighting, learning its encounter, learning how to overcome it or trap it, or shift the odds in your favor. And when you get good at this game, and you start to learn the patterns, and and as you lock in and get better at this game overall, my god, you feel like a force of nature sometimes. If Monster Hunter Wilds was just a little bit too much for your PC to handle, or even if you have played Wilds and you're like, you know what, I really want more of this, I would recommend going back to Monster Hunter World, because right now it is 67% off for $9.89. Some dream of the sea, some dream of the sky. Bioshock is one of the most legendary and beloved FPS series out there. Not because of any great multiplayer gameplay loop or anything like that. No, it's the stories and the worlds that these games have within them that is so special and memorable for so many. I personally have a lot of nostalgia for Bioshock Infinite, the third game in the series, that takes place in a giant city in the sky. And I think the great thing about Bioshock's gameplay is that its overall gameplay loop is rather simplistic, but it's also really dang cool. It's an FPS game. You have a bunch of different guns at your disposal. Sometimes ammunition can be very scarce. However, the game also gives you basically magic. It's not magic within the confines of the world, but in terms of practice and mechanical impact on the gameplay loop, it feels like magic, like you're casting various like fireballs, lightning things, and getting a bunch of really cool spells and abilities at your disposal that you're able to weave in between your gunfire. And what it does is make a combat loop that maybe by itself, it was just the gun gameplay would feel rather generic. It makes it feel truly special and unique to Bioshock. There's a reason these games have stood the test of time. Bioshock The Collection, which has, to my knowledge, pretty much everything in there, is 80% off for $11.99. That's like 3 games. Do you love Minecraft, but you're just a little bit bored of it and you want something similar to it, but also new at the same time? Terraria is an oldie but a goodie. And while it's been a while since I have personally played Terraria, and it has seen many updates, when I played it, it was like a 2D Minecraft game with a higher focus on combat and boss design. But if just a fan of those sandboxy styles of games, Terraria is one of those games you always find yourself coming back to. And even if you don't want to play a game for 10 more years, even just playing Terraria for a good bit of time will be a very pleasurable experience in my opinion. And I mean, for this price point, you might as well. It's 50% off of $4.99. The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky is the first chapter in one of the longest and most detailed JRPG series, and honestly just series out there in all of gaming. And while that can be a very daunting proposition to a lot of people, I have recently played Trails in the Sky, the original, before the remake just came out, and this game holds up. My god, the combat system is fun, and while some people may argue it takes a while for the plot to truly get going, I think even in the slower part of this game's plot, It's focused on characterization and slowly but surely developing and building this world, and I think it does a hell of a job at doing that. Also, the turn-based, grid-based combat system in Trails in the Sky is so dang fun. You not only have the Orbment system, which is essentially, think of the materia system of older Final Fantasy games, and it's very similar to that gives you access to a bunch of different spells. Each character has their own unique craft abilities, so while you can still augment and customize these characters to some degree, to a lot of degrees, they also play differently to each other and bring different things to the table, and my god, they do a good job at doing that. This game just has such a great vibe and aesthetic to it, with big, colorful characters that just stick with you, and truly, in my opinion, are all great across the board. And I know what you may be saying, Jmulls, the remake just came out. Why are we talking about the original one? While I have been playing the remake and I absolutely adore that game as well, I do think there is value in also playing the original version. Maybe the remake is just a little bit too pricey for you right now, or you want to see what the original translation for Trails in the Sky is like, or maybe you just prefer the vibe of an older JRPG. I still think the original version holds up and that there are reasons to play this game. It's not a knock on the remake or anything, I'm loving that game as well. I'm just saying, I freaking love Trails in the Sky, and this game is pulling me down a rabbit hole that I don't think I'm going to ever really get out of when it comes to Trails. The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky is 50% off for $9.99. And that was the Steam Autumn Sale, or at least the games that I say you should keep an eye out for. So here's where you come in. Leave a comment down below with your own picks, your own recommendations for what other people should be on the lookout for at this Steam Autumn Sale. It goes on through October 6th, so if there's anything you want to pick up, now's a pretty good time to do so. And speaking of games, more and more people are playing games on the go, and especially when it comes to handheld gaming PCs like the Asus ROG Ally and the Steam Deck. And if you're wondering why it seems like everyone won't shut up about these things, you should check out this video right here for more. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody, until we meet again.